So we are now live. We just got to wait and see who joins us. So there's a couple of people who start joining us very soon. So I normally give them a few moments. Just there's a couple of people joining on. I'm not sure who that is at the moment, but we have a few people. So hello to all those people that are starting to join us. Just give it a few more moments. Hope you're all okay. Hope you're well and had a good day. And enjoying this wonderful sunshine, or not so much this wonderful sunshine that's really terrible for the heat at the moment. But give it a couple of more seconds. Before I do that, I've got my cup, ladies and gents. I've got a Buzz Lightyear cup this time. We always do a cup, Audrey, beforehand. Don't ask me why I started doing it, but we did start doing it. And every time we do this, we have a different cup. So that's my Buzz Lightyear cup. And it's funny, actually, as I picked that cup out tonight, because I was thinking about what we're going to do and what we're going to talk about, and I'll introduce you more to Audrey in a minute. But I was thinking about how memories are sometimes associated or attached to things. For instance, the cup that I've just shown you, the Buzz Lightyear cup, was bought when my children were very, very young, and now they're in their 20s sort of thing. When we went to Euro Disney, and I remember going in the shop, and obviously when they're young kids, and for those of you who've been to Disney, you know, the shops are just magnificent with toys and cups and souvenirs. And that reminds me very much of my time with my children in Euro Disney. So I think things like cups and other things, they have sort of an emotional attachment sometimes, I think. But the numbers are going up. So let me just say hello and evening to everyone again. Thanks very much for joining us. We have a wonderful guest, as you can tell on screen, called Audrey, who's all the way from sunny. Is it sunny in America at the moment? I presume so.
It's pretty sunny.
Pretty sunny. So it's nice in America as well at the moment. And I've known Audrey for quite a while now. And she works as a medium, psychic medium. She also does Reiki, hairdressing, past life regression. What else do you do? I might have missed out on that, Audrey.
I do a lot of mentoring and coaching as well. So anything that has worked for me to help me grow spiritually, I love to help others and teach others.
Okay, so you've done loads of different stuff. So but I think the thing is, with you, from what I know, obviously, and talking to you, you seem to have a pretty good knowledge of quite a lot of things, don't you? From, as you say, what you've learned, and you seem to put that into practice throughout everything that you do with your spirit work. I
do have a lot of tools in my toolbox. I've been, collecting through the years, definitely.
So what about this? I saw on your, I think it was your website the other day, about your hairdressing and Reiki, or hairdressing and a message or something. What was that? I can't.
So I had been working full time as a hairdresser for about 20 years. And then I stepped away from it for a little bit. And I just felt called to go back to it and kind of blend my services together. So I love my craft, and I can add a little bit of energy work in there. So if you do have a haircut appointment with me, there's an add-on option that you can also have a reading as well.
Hey. Well, I've had my haircut, but maybe next time I'll come and get my haircut with you or whatever, if I fly to the States, and then you can give me a reading. But there's lots of people coming on, so I'm just going to say hello to a few people. Okay. Hi, Shelley. There's Liz, Elaine, Tracy, Linda, Scott, Pauline, Claire, Alexis. Hi, Alexis. Hope you're okay. My Alexis is going to go off now, but don't worry about it if it does. Denise, Brenda, Emma. So there's quite a few people coming on now. And can you see the comments or not, Audrey? I'm not sure if you can.
I cannot. I'm not sure.
Cannot? Okay. I'm not sure if I can share them with you or not, but I don't think you can. But there may be a way. But not to worry. You can.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see the people that are jumping on tonight then.
Yes, it's all loading right now. Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, the format of what we normally do, Audrey, is we have what you call it obviously a chat and a cuppa, because that's really what it is. It's quite an informal thing. People tend to ask questions. Hopefully, they're going to ask some questions. So, guys, get your thinking caps on about what you want to ask tonight. But one of the questions I'm going to just touch on that I didn't get around to answering before was about songs. And how songs make us feel emotion. And someone sent me a message about, can songs or music be relevant in mediumship? Which the answer to that obviously is yes, because you can actually bring music in or songs into your mediumship when you're working. But also songs or music is very much something that people tend to associate with people as well. I mean, two of the songs that I really like, and I'm sure, Audrey, you'll know these, is Sailing by Rod Stewart. You know that one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very spiritual song, I find that one. And then I Believe by Elvis Presley.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, now if someone plays the Elvis Presley before I work, before I'm doing my demo or whatever, it really raises the energy for me. It raises the vibration, because that brings up some memories to me from when I was younger as a kid and as a child. But the Rod Stewart one as well reminds me a lot about people that I've lost, because if the words of that song are very poignant and very relevant. So the answer to the question is, yeah, music is a big factor. Hi, Caroline. Is a big factor in mediumship, because sometimes spirit world will play a song in your mind, or put in your mind a memory of a song that you know that might have been played at a funeral, a birth, or as a memory link for a party or anything like that. So hopefully that will answer that question for the person that asked it. And it's nice to see we've got so many people coming on. We've got Jesse. Brenda said songs definitely give me emotional, different songs, different reasons. Yeah, music is what music is. I think it's a universal language, isn't it, really, to be honest?
Definitely.
Sorry, go on.
I find for me, that U2 is a really big one for me. I think there's so much emotion, and I really feel that in the lyrics of his music, it feels very channeled. It feels so much like channeled message in that music. It really does it for me.
And is there any one particular U2 song, or is it just all of them generally?
There's a lot of them actually, but the Joshua Tree album in particular to me just feels like perfect spiritual gift. It's amazing.
That's an old album of theirs. So
old. It's old.
It's the 80s, I think, isn't it, or something like that? Is it the 80s?
87. It's old.
Oh, yeah, wow, a long time ago. There's a couple of people more. Stephanie said hi, Audrey. So she must be someone you know on there. Or Stephanie.
Hi, Jesse.
Oh, okay. So let me introduce a little bit more about Audrey. I know I just said a little bit about her, but as I say, I do know Audrey. She's very good at what she does. She does all different things, which she's going to talk about a little bit more in the moment. But I thought it would be nice if we had, obviously, myself doing this, but also Audrey, because sometimes different mediums have different perspectives on things. So when you ask your questions, you'll get two different perspectives, maybe. But also, a question I wanted to ask you, Audrey, before you sort of talk about you a bit more, is do you think that mediumship in the States is different from the mediumship in the UK? As in, maybe is it more psychic work in the States to maybe in the UK, or what do you feel it might be, do you think?
I mean, I can only speak from my experience, and I have been to the UK many times, and I have connections there. So I have had the opportunity to experience it and go to Glastonbury. And I do agree that there is some differences for sure. And in just the fact that you have the spiritualist church community where we don't really have that here. No. So there's a divide, I think, between religion and spiritualism and the gift of mediumship. And so a lot of times it can be misconstrued as like dark, or it's just not something that's taught in our churches here. So that right there, I think, is the big divide there. But yes, I do feel like more of my community over here is very broad in like shamanism and earth medicine, in the psychic portion of it. Yes, and I don't even think that people really know the difference between a psychic and a medium. Most of the people that sit in front of me, I ask if I should explain that to them, and just about every single person says yes.
Yeah, no, I find that, I suppose in the UK, it's not as maybe having to explain it as much as you do in the States, maybe, or something. But I think people in the UK are pretty much aware what the psychic is, as in, I call it the earthbound energy, or that's the way I call it, or term it. Right. And then you've got obviously the medium mystic side of it, which is obviously with the spirit world, or the people that passed over. But so, you know, a lot of people in the UK want to sort of hear from loved ones who have passed over, and they get that, they want that sort of evidence. They want to know that their loved one's there, still supporting them and things. But you do get a few people that come and just want the life guidance and want to know what's happening now, what's gone on in the past, maybe something for the future. But obviously the future is always one of them things where it's hard to get validation from, because you don't know if it's going to happen. Hopefully it will or not, depending on what it is. So it's hard, but obviously I don't live too far from Glastonbury, so I'm quite lucky, because the energy in Glastonbury, for those of you who have never been, go to Glastonbury if you can. It's a strange place. The energy is phenomenal, and I expect you found that when you went, and you've got the tour and you've got everything like that. But it's also all different people there. You've got people that are, and using the word normal probably isn't the right word to use, but you've got people that you would class as bankers, or you've got people that are working as shop assistants, but then you've got people that are slightly off the scale, as I call it. I want to say away with the fairies, but I might be a bit rude saying that. I don't know. But you tend to have all different walks of life in Glastonbury, and sometimes you go through it and you'll just get all the people camping on the roadsides, and you've got the lovely flowers and that sort. So it's a really nice community there, and with all the spiritual shops which you've been to and the tour, it is just an amazing, amazing place. So for those of you who are on tonight who haven't got to go there or been there, then you need to maybe have a trip down to Glastonbury or the tour and find out about that energy. So that's enough of sort of the general chit chat from me, if you like. So I'm going to just really sort of, again, just ask you, Audrey, if you just sort of let people know a little bit more about maybe how it started for you. What was your first experience maybe with the spirit or the awareness, shall we say? And just let you run with it from there. And then if we get some questions, then we can answer some questions along the way. So over to you then.
Awesome. Thank you, Darren. Thanks for having me. So I guess I would have to say that I really don't remember a time in my life where I wasn't having experiences. I just didn't always have adults to really give me the platform to understand what was happening to me. So I was explaining to Darren a little bit earlier that I really came into the world believing in reincarnation and just a real understanding for reincarnation. And I would go to church and hear such a different perspective on life and afterlife. And it was very confusing to me. And so I did really follow a lot of what I was told through my childhood, but I still remained very curious. I ended up purchasing my first deck of tarot cards when I was 12 and took them with me to church camp and was quickly whisked back home, sent home with my church, my tarot cards, and shamed for having them with me. And spent most of my younger years digging for pretty stones, which I now call crystals, and arrowheads and things like that. So just really feeling drawn to the metaphysical and earth medicine my whole life. So as I got older, I remained curious, read a lot of books, and then I started to share some of my gifts probably about 10 years ago. I was working a lot and not really very in touch with myself and overdoing it a lot. I ran a very busy salon, and my body just started to tell me no. And I just started to get a nudge to take better care of myself. And as I did, I found acupuncture and yoga and energy work, Reiki. And as I got attuned to Reiki and started to have an understanding of my own energy body, I started to really open up to my own gifts and have a community of people that could help me to really understand what it is that I'm here to do. And that's not just work and die. So my love of the metaphysical started to become something that I could share. And quickly I started to teach anything that I learned and share anything that I was receiving from spirit with others. And that turned into reading tarot, teaching yoga, and eventually I opened up to my mediumship gifts as well. And that was a more recent piece about 3 years ago that started to open up. And then I started to remember some of the things that I had experienced when I was really little that may have scared me, and I know how to turn it on and turn it off. And it was it was like, we're turning this on for you now, and you have to do this work. And so that's when I started doing the mediumship portion as well.
Because I found for me, I mean, I didn't come to this till later in life. I think I was in my late 30s or something like that. And I'm not one of these mediums that claim to have had it since a child. I may have done, but if I did, I couldn't be honest, I wouldn't know about it. But so for me, I came into it quite late, and it just seemed to happen. It just seemed to be switched on, and it's like, well, what is this? What am I supposed to do with this? Why is this? Because like you, I went to Sunday school and was told you have to, live a certain way, believe a certain thing, religion, and that. But I, like you, was very much asking questions or thinking, well, there has to be more to life than what there is. It just doesn't seem right that we just live the life we do and then we pass over and that's it. There has to be more after life. Mm-hmm. So it didn't really make much sense to me. So I think what you're sort of saying about how your upbringing is, or maybe the way that you sort of come into it, is very, very similar, although you were younger than me, obviously. But you seem to have a lot more tools, shall we say, in your tool bag from the whole of the experience of your life, from obviously your tarot cards when you were 12 and you got thrown out of camp, to your crystals and things like that. So is there predominantly one area you feel that you prefer to work in? Is that the past life? Is that the Reiki, or do you just like working with a whole lot collectively?
That is a good question, because I really feel that staying diversified with my gifts is just where I have to be. Because as soon as one thing steps to the front and is like, this is what you're doing right now, eventually it just kind of shifts into something else eventually. So right now I feel I'm being asked to do a lot of past life regressions. I have been doing them more than anything else lately. And I'm not even advertising that. So it's like a collective thing, right? So it's like, I'll show up and help you with whatever you need. And right now it's past life regression work, of course, everything else as well.
So with the past life, how does it work? I mean, I've now had it done. I suppose from a little bit, I'm skeptical about it. Sounds weird to say that, doesn't it? So if you're talking to someone here who's not 100% sure on it, and I'm sure there's loads of people tonight that are going to jump on board who said that they've had it done, that it's fab and everything like that. So how does it work, Audrey? Because you're talking to someone total novice about it here.
Okay, so it is my belief that we've lived many, many lifetimes, and that we're reincarnating with each other over and over again in these soul families. And we also have these different phobias or different things that we carry from lifetime to lifetime due to traumas that we've had in past lives. So, for instance, I did a past life regression for somebody earlier this week who remembers being with her mother as her mother is dying in childbirth in a previous life about 150 years ago. And while she's having this memory, she is aware that I'm there. So it's a hypnosis experience. So she's aware that I'm there, but she's also reliving this memory as if it happens. And as soon as it's over, then we have a discussion, and she has a deep understanding, even though it's a sad experience to watch that from a little girl's perspective and remember that, she understands that maybe that's why she is like, I never, ever want to have children in this lifetime. And it might change the perspective and relieve some of that stress or anxiety around that, kind of opportunity that she may have missed. Or maybe she still doesn't want to have children, but an understanding of where that comes from.
So it's like a healing process then, really, isn't it, as well?
It is very healing. There's usually a huge release and a good bit of crying, but I've never had anybody not have an experience with it or feel that it was like more than they wanted to know. It's a very good healing experience. Yeah, because I was going to say to you, have you ever had anyone come who it just doesn't work on, or anyone that comes maybe with they say they want to do it, but when you get people say I want to do this, but they really don't. I was going to say if you had anyone like that, but by the sounds of it, you've not really experienced that or had anyone sort of turn up wanting to do it, but it's not been successful or something like that. Not to this point, but I do believe that, just like you're saying, if somebody shows up and they are coming as a skeptic and they're not believing in it, or they're not remaining open, or they're not allowing themselves to relax, it's not going to be as great. Just like when I do a mediumship reading, if somebody buys you a reading and sits you in front of me, but you think this is, witchy-woo, hocus pocus, it's not going to be my best example of my work. It's that person that comes and is there because they want to be there, because they're open to it, that is going to have the best experience.
Brilliant. Fabulous. You got, actually, funny enough, as you were explaining about how it works, Elaine's put, can Audrey explain a little bit about how past life regression works? So, and Claire said she wants a past life regression. You do those over the internet though as well, don't you, online?
I do. Yeah.
So if anyone wants some past life regression done with Audrey, she'll tell you all about her website and everything towards the end. So make sure you remind me, Audrey, won't you? So Claire, if you want to do that, maybe, get in touch with Audrey. She can do that for you. Someone called Ginger said, hi to my sister. You must know Ginger.
She's a Lilydale sister.
Okay. I've got a question for you from my mother.
Oh.
Okay. That says, have you had an outer body experience?
Actually, I cannot say that I have. So like astral projection, is that what she's meaning maybe?
I think she's probably meaning that plus other things, but the only out-of-body experience I've ever had is when I'm drunk and I don't know what I'm doing. So, but no, I mean, I've never had an out-of-body experience. I hear many people that say that they have, but most of the time when it's happening, they tell me they're in a sleep state, or it's at night time when they're sleeping. So my question to that would be, well, is that did it actually happen, or is that your mind dreaming it, or what is it? And it'd be good to see if anyone else comes on tonight who's had an out-of-body experience, because I'm sure, again, there's bound to be some other people. But to answer your question, Mother, no, I haven't. Audrey clearly hasn't, so we can't answer your question. But, well, I suppose we have, because we said no to it. But, it's one of those things that there's many things, isn't there, on a spiritual level or a mediumistic level or a whichever level you want to call it, where there's a lot of unexplained things, isn't there? And I think sometimes, although we do the work that we do spiritually, sometimes we don't always understand it, and I don't think you ever do understand fully what's happening. Because people quite often say, well, what's about COVID-19? And I know in the States, I think you've got it far worse than we have at the moment. So are you finding a lot of people are coming to see you as well because of COVID, wanting to know what's going to happen maybe in the future, or going back to the past life thing, they need to deal with something to do with COVID, maybe they're worrying or stressing a lot, and maybe past life will help them, or they want a reading about something to do with COVID? Are you finding lots of people coming to you for that reason, or?
Yes. I do feel that there are obviously a lot of people that are feeling that lowest vibration, fear, and they don't know what to do. And where for me, and probably for you, I am in a place of trusting that there's something bigger going on here. And I'm kind of like, I can't wait to see what this is all about. There has got to be something, beautiful on the other side of this, universal wildfire that we're experiencing. But not everybody is in that place of trust. And so it's a really great opportunity as a medium or psychic to be able to bring comfort and remind people that their loved ones are in spirit, or that if they are going to, cross over at this point, that they are going to be okay. It's just giving them a sense of knowing that everything is going to be okay. Yeah, people are looking for answers. Yeah,
and I think, as you say, it is that unknowing for people that maybe are not, as you say, do what we do, or not have that awareness, shall we say. And sometimes just by talking to them, giving that reading, it gives them a little bit more hope, doesn't it? Not only for the fact of the COVID situation, what's going to happen after that, but hope for the future generally, and for their life path, if you like, as well. Because, I think, especially in the day and age we're in now, where I think when COVID first started off, the energy was very, very heavy. It was very distorted, very fractured, and people just did not have a clue what was happening. And I know we're having to learn to live with it, although it's not great to learn to live with it. From our perspective and our teachings or our understanding, we know that when we do come out, something will be there better for us. Something will hopefully make the world a better place, the energy a better place, maybe people better people. There'll be something that will happen to actually make people's eyes open a little bit more. I think that's what I believe anyway as well, which I think is very similar to what you said as well. So you've got quite a few people. Okay, I've got to go back to my mum, because if I don't go back to my mum, she mentioned it. She's saying my mum used to. In other words, my grandmother used to do this. And I think it's only right just to let you know that Audrey is part of my family as well. So Audrey very much, I know, is a spiritual person too. But we didn't really connect and pick up about that for only the last about 5 years ago, I think, probably something like that. So it runs in our family. So, Mum, I'm very much aware of what Nan used to do, because obviously she's Nan. And Audrey, you're very much aware of what used to happen on the spooky side of the family, the witchy side, as I call it. So, so we have that family tie and that family history, which I think is good, because, some families or generations don't talk about spiritual things, or to talk about being a medium is a bit, is unheard of, or you shouldn't talk about it, or it's bad. But it's nice when you have a family that's open, or I find it's nice to have a family that's open to it. I mean, obviously, you get some family members that say you're off your trolley, but that's fine. That's one of them things, isn't it? But so that's nice. So let's try and answer some questions here. Right, Judith Shepherd has put, my grandson is now 12 years old and has, since he could first talk, discussed his relationship with my granddad, who passed away before he was born. Somehow Samuel can tell me about all the things he used to do with his great-granddad. Not sure how he knows so many details, as he has never been told a lot about his grandfather. Yeah, I quite often get a lot of people contact me, and I don't know about you, Audrey, say, my son is telling me that he's talking to his grandfather who's passed. He's never met his grandfather. He's saying things that he would not know, or she would not know. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you find a lot of people come and say the same thing to you, that their child knows these things, or?
Yes, and it seems like the younger they are, the better awareness they have of the other side. And I think that that's kind of what my experience, and probably yours too, is that, we probably were having more experiences when we were little, but without the nurturing of those parts of ourselves, living in a culture where it's not really the norm, or it's not understood, it's easy to shut that off. So yes, I see that a lot. A lot of people will say that. I have a really dear friend who has a little boy that talks about when he was a man and he had a family and he shot a bear. And he'll tell us in great detail about his life. And it is not in this time period. It is not something that he watched. He's just little.
Yeah. So. And it's incredible when that happens, isn't it? And obviously, your son, Judith, must be very much connecting with your granddad, and obviously bringing through that evidence. So what I would say to you is, if it's not troubling him and it's not troubling you, then just go with the flow and just see where it goes and where it's developed, because it's nice for you to know that he has that connection and that he's able to bring through that evidence, or that validation that your granddad is fine within the spirit world. So great question.
Definitely.
What else have we got? Okay, I think Val, this is another Val, not my mum Val. Val, who funny enough sits in my development groups, but I had one which I think she's on about out-of-body experience when I was 19 and very poorly in hospital. I have never felt love like it. Again, I've never had one, so I can't comment on that. But if you felt that love, you will know about that love, which I would say is probably something phenomenal, unconditional, that we don't really grasp, I think, on the earth side. I don't think it's until we probably go to the spirit side that we probably grasp what that true love is about. What do you think about that, Audrey, about the feeling of the love? You never experienced it before.
It's really a great question, and it overlaps with, I'm assuming that she's speaking of the astral projection part. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So it overlaps with the reincarnation or the past life regression stuff that I was talking about. So when I start to take somebody through a lifetime and remembering certain parts of that lifetime, we'll jump ahead to the next best thing that happens to them, or the most significant event. And as we get closer to their passing, and you've passed in every life, right? Some of them can be very traumatic. And as we get to that place, I'll have you observe it like you're watching a movie instead of living it, because it can be uncomfortable. And when I feel that you've had enough, I ask you to go to the place where the soul leaves the body. And that's exactly what they talk about. They're like, it's so peaceful. And I'll just let them be there in that place. And that's like that in between lies. Like, it feels like pure love. It's so peaceful. So yeah, it's like that your soul is out of this dense meat suit.
Yeah. Never had it called a meat suit, but I have to remember that one next time. A meat suit. That's well done. Good, I remember that. So hopefully that'll answer your question. I think Audrey probably explained it really, really well to you as well. So thank you for that, Audrey. We've got some more questions on here. Jan says hi to you both. Hi, Jan. Okay, we've got Linda. I don't know if you got Linda's message on there, but Linda said a friend's sister has recently passed. Is there a message for her, please? I can pass to her. Well, we're really, really sorry, obviously, that first of all, that, you know, she's taken a transition to the spirit world. We might be doing some readings in a little while. If Audrey wants to do some and I want to do some, we're not really sure how we're going to go with that. But all I would say to you, Linda, is, and I know you know this anyway, Linda, because I recognise your name, that, you know, it's a sad, sad time, but also it's a time where you know that the spirit continues and the sister will continue in a different form. So we're sorry about that. But obviously, if there's a message for you, we will certainly work on that for you. Adriana says, this is so cool. Hi, Audrey.
Hi,
Adriana. One of your friends from the States, I presume, as well. So who we got here? We've got Shelley, who said, my children, all 5 of them, all have the ability to work with spirits. Some of them choose not to work with them, and some do. Do you have any siblings? Sorry, they moved up. Do you have any siblings that work the way you do, Audrey? So that's a question for you, Audrey. Now, I know you have children. Are they spiritual? Do they work spiritually, or do they choose not to? Or
So that is a really great question. I have a daughter that's 25, and she is really starting to open up to her own gifts. And I have a son that's 15, and he is really not that interested in any of this nonsense as far as he's concerned. That's exactly what it is right now. But I can tell you that when he was younger, and he has grown up with this is his normal, right? So when he was younger, he shares my gifts. He has mediumship gifts. Whether what he does with them, that's totally up to him. And just like me, I can turn it on and turn it off. I know that he can do the same. And right now he's turning it off and being a teenager. Yeah. So I hope to see Katie open up more to her gifts. I have one sister, and she's never talked to me about any of her own experiences, but she's curious, and she, you know, may have her deck of cards and use her deck of cards to help intuit information. But the mediumship portion, not in my sister. No, not that I'm aware of.
I think the mediumship side of things frightens people, doesn't it? Because I suppose we're brought up to a degree, and I suppose it depends on your religion. And you know, I'm not here to talk about religion specifically, but I suppose a lot of people are brought up to the fact that you shouldn't sort of dabble in that side of things. You shouldn't connect to people that are passed over because it's not right to do it, it's not good to do it, or whatever their perception might be. And that's fine if that's their opinion. But I find that it brings so much comfort to people when they have lost someone. And, you know, I just find that just to be able to connect those people, and it's not about the medium. The medium is just a channel. It's always about the recipient and about their loved one that's passed. So I think that, you know, if you can do that, and I'm sure you both, you know, your obviously your son certainly, I would imagine is going to do it, because I know your son. I've met your son, so I'm sure that he will do it at some stage. But my own children, they're not really interested in anything that I do, and we don't really talk about it. But if they are watching this, I've got some bad news for you guys. You're very, very much spiritual, whether you know it or you don't know it. So just watch out what happens with that. But you know, Shelley, I think you'll probably find that your kids will want to do something at some stage. So we will see that. But the thing I find as well is that with children being psychically aware or spiritually aware, it's a little bit freaky, because I think their connection is a bit stronger than ours as adults, because they don't have maybe all of the life hang-ups that we might have. they're a little bit more open, I think, to it, aren't they? Or my opinion is they're more open to it. So they can just come out with things, and they're very innocent to a degree. And what they get, they just give, whereas we might filter things sometimes. Do you think with that?
Absolutely. We have so many distractions, and our kids are starting to have more distractions as we like throw phones and iPads in front of them and whatnot. But they just aren't as distracted. They're more connected. That nobody's told them that they can't believe in magic yet, or they can't believe in anything. So they come into this world believing in everything and having experiences where when you're having experiences, you are dismissing them as coincidences instead of confirmations and validations.
And it's wonderful when you get that sort of that feeling or that confirmation, isn't it, or validation afterwards. It makes you think, well, I'm not mad, I'm not crazy, I'm not stupid, but it is a genuine thing there. So we've got some more questions. Someone said, I agree, Darren. So thank you to whatever you're agreeing to. I can't remember what we're doing. Hi, Lisa, Shelley. Hopefully that answers your question for you as well. So another question that I had for you, Audrey, is what do you feel is the most spookiest? I use the word spooky because that's pretty much everyone knows thing that's happened to you. Doesn't necessarily mean in a bad way, but what do you feel is the most, or the thing that's happened to you the most where you thought, I know this is real. It's not my mind, or it has to be real because of the experience you had, or the one thing that sort of sits in your mind thinking, that was the moment where, to me, I just knew everything was right. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean. So the spookiest thing that ever happened to me, I'm not sure. It's a negative thing. So do you want me to share that? I mean, I can share how it worked out because it's like, it's kind of a negative.
If you want to share it, you can, as long as it's not a personal thing. Obviously, that's for you, because I think we have to look logically that sometimes things happen which are not always pleasant, but there is normally a way to work around that feeling or that sensation. And I do quite a lot of work with people that have had bad experiences, whether that be spiritually or personally. And it's looking at a way of turning maybe the negative into possibly a positive, or certainly looking at the way of easing that situation. So if you want to, that's fine. But if it's a personal thing, I wouldn't want you to share that.
So it's not personal.
Okay.
It's an experience I had, but it's not like too personal. But it's not, one of the most warm and fuzzy things. But I think it's a really useful teaching tool, and I use it in my workshops a lot. Because the first thing that I teach people that do want to open up to their intuitive gifts is protection. I feel that that's the most important thing. I start every reading, every meditation, everything that I do is started with some sort of prayer that is going to protect me, protect you for highest and best good. And so early in this journey of mine, I had a little trickster show up. And so I was not necessarily in heavy on the on the prayer practices and the protection practices. And I learned the hard way why it's important. And so I was around a girl, and I looked up and I saw somebody standing behind her, and this it was a negative entity, but it was presenting itself to me as something wonderful. It felt very high vibrational and gave lots of wonderful messages. But then that later on that evening, this was before I was doing this work as a living, and later that evening I just didn't feel good, and the next day I didn't feel good, and then I wasn't sleeping well. And at the time I reached out to my teacher, and I was like, I don't know what this is. And she was like, you did not practice good protection practices, and now you have to deal with it. And so that's what I did. And so at the time it was scaring me. Like I could see it hanging out, bothering me. It was depleting my energy. But as soon as I decided not to be afraid of it and to start to get heavy on like healthy protection practices, I got rid of it, no problem. But for the 3 days, I was like, this is frightening. So that to me was like, wow, this is something, big. But I've also had so many wonderful experiences. That's the only really negative one I can tell you. That was the spookiest.
To be honest with you, I don't think I've really had any spooky experiences from a negative point of view. I think I've been fairly lucky because, like you, I'm always aware of the protection we need to do and things. But I think from a very, very, earlier on, I always was someone that always said my prayers or asked for protection or that sort of thing. So from my point of view, I haven't really had anything on a negative, spooky things. I mean, like everyone else, sometimes you're sitting there and you'll see someone in the room or this or that, but that's not a negative. That's a nice, spooky thing. I think I had I still have a guide that at one time, bless his heart, that it wasn't a spooky thing, but his energy and his power was so overpowering to me that I felt bad with it. But that was only because my energy and his energy hadn't quite blended correctly. And I think he might have been a little bit over the top to come close to me. And because I was pushing him away because I was thinking I don't like the energy I'm feeling, although he's not bad in any way, shape or form. It was my lack of understanding that he was wanting to come to help me or work with me. But I was quite naive at the time of understanding the presence that he had, the niceness of him, and the way that he works with me is phenomenal now. So that's not negative, but that's my only experience, if you like, of feeling an energy being probably more overpowering than I can deal with, and me interpreting it wrongly, that sort of thing. Because I think sometimes when a guide presents himself, and I know that wasn't a guide that presented himself to you, but it's us having the wrong impression of who they are or what they are or the energy of them. And I'm pleased that you use the protection, because protection is a big thing, isn't it, when we do our work?
Yes.
As you know, whether we're teaching, doing a private reading, we're doing a dem, and things like that. Because I presume you do the protection when you're doing Reiki and things as well, and using crystals, do you?
Yeah. I mean, I have black tourmaline with me right now. So if you know me well, you know that I have black tourmaline somewhere on my body, in my car, in my home. It's just a beautiful tool to have. Everybody should have one.
So is that for protection then? So I'm not really into crystals as such. My wife's very much, as you know, into crystals. So that's so if anyone wants a bit of protection, they need to get the black tourmaline. Okay, so there you go, guys. You got a little bit of a tip there from Audrey, in case you don't know. And I know there's quite a few ladies that are jumping on, and a few guys that are jumping on that are very much into crystals. And this is why it's nice to have you on, because obviously, as I say, you have a different, a broad spectrum of practices you do. And am I right in thinking that you just opened up a new center or something, or in the process of opening a new center?
So during COVID, I was just called to open up a bigger space. So I started doing a little bit of hair again, like a little bit more hair than I had been doing, and blending that with my healing services and doing my haircuts in an intentional way with energy work with my haircuts. And then I have this space, it's blended for me to teach yoga, teach Reiki, do workshops, I teach intuition courses. So I can do brick and mortar here, and I can also teach those things all online as well. So
because I went on, because obviously I knew you were coming on here, I sort of went on your Facebook page, and you can give all the details of that before we finish, and your website. And I noticed you're doing, is it yoga for children now or something? Is that right?
So with the way COVID has schools, some people are choosing to keep their kids in homeschool situations. And I don't know what's happening in the UK, but over here, these little pods are popping up. So for instance, if our schools decide to go all cyber, I have a couple of friends that our kids will go together at one of each of our houses. And so what I'm going to do is offer yoga as like instead of a gym class. So I can teach them yoga. Yeah.
Good idea. And I would imagine the kids would be quite susceptible to that as well. They're wanting to do that, I presume. Yeah. Again, I've never done yoga, and I can't imagine me being able to be that good at it. But I suppose it all comes with experience, like everything, doesn't it? Really. Another. I'm going to just before I ask your next question, I'm just going to see if there's any more on here. Someone's Tara Cooper's, but hi Audrey, hi Darren. Recently have had hawks following me on a regular basis. I feel there might be a message or something symbolic. Any thoughts, Audrey? Do you want to take that one about having hawks or birds following her?
I'm not exactly 100% sure off the top of my head what hawk medicine is about, but hawk is a predatory bird.
That's
so you can get on Ted Andrews is a wonderful resource for reading about animal totems. So as far as hawk medicine goes, I would say, I think you have to read about it. I'm not 100% sure what that's about.
That's one that I don't think we're going to get the answer to, Tara. I mean, for me, when I get birds or the symbology of a bird or a hawk, as Audrey quite rightly said, it is a predator type bird, but also a hawk to me is very much like a nice angelic type bird. It's a bird, obviously, all birds fly to different places, but it sort of hovers as well. So to me, I think it's about a journey maybe for you as well. I also feel very much it's about you, Tara, wanting to put into place what it is you want to achieve and really going for it. Like the hawk would just go forward for its prey, if you want to use that terminology. So I think it's about you going forward. That's my perception. But as I say, Audrey's given you an idea there of what to do or where to look at again, which is fabulous. So maybe you want to do that. We've got another question from Tracy. I have had a wonderful message from you a few years back from my barking dog at Earth Spirit. Oh, this is someone I know. I had a wonderful message from you a few years back from my barking dog at Earth Spirit Crystals. I'd love a message from a loved one. Oh, bless you, Tracy. I can't remember the message I gave you from your barking dog or what I actually gave you at the time, my lovely. The only reason I'm laughing is I'm trying to rack my brains thinking, what was it? And I'm not laughing at you, I'm just laughing at me because I can't work it out. But again, if Audrey wants to do a message or I do, I'm sure we might do that at some stage. So did you want to do a message at all? Are you all right? Or are you just going with the flow at the moment, Audrey? What do you want to do?
Let's go for the flow for a couple more minutes.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, all right. Okay, Marie said, when spirit guides are around us, is this for our day-to-day living or for our spirit work or both? Personally, I would say it's for both. Because the spirit world, although they help us with our spirit work, they do, although they won't maybe change the course of what's happening in our personal life, I certainly feel that they support us as we go along on our journey. And we all have emotional situations that we don't feel we can get over. We don't always feel that we're going to be able to come to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But, we normally do, and it is always with the help of the spirit world. So, my perception, and Audrey, yours might be different, is I think it's both. They help us spiritually and in our personal life. Is that what you believe as well?
Yes, and our spirit guides are with us all the time. So, like your question said, I lost the link to it. I'm looking for it.
When spirit guides are around us, is this for our day-to-day living or for our spirit work or both?
Yeah, so it's like when our spirit guides are around us, your spirit guides are around you all the time. They're always with you. So you have your master guide that's always with you, guiding you and, connecting you and helping you, cheer you along through your whole life, your life path. But then you have lots of other guides that step in and out to help you along the way. So some will step in just for a day and some will step in for the rest of your life and anything in between. So if you're ever wanting a new guide, ask for one. So I think we tend to just kind of wait for the signs or wait for something good to happen with our spiritual work. And at some point, somebody said to me years ago, you can ask. And I was like, what? I can ask? And yes, you can ask. So you can ask for a new guide. So let's say you want a guide to help you open up spiritually. You can ask for a new guide just for that. Meditate on that and ask your master guide for that.
Yeah. Quite often when I'm out, I know it's slightly different, I ask the angels for a parking space or something like that. Can you get me a parking space? Or if you need someone to help with some DIY, can someone from the spirit world help me with DIY or whatever it is? So guys, that does work. So as Audrey says, try that. But, I think they help us both. So hopefully, Marie, that answers your question as well. So where are we? I'm trying. I would love a reading. Okay, we might do some readings in a minute. Okay, here's one from Jill. I'm just going to move up a bit. I don't know if you can see it or not. But it says, I live in an active house haunted. 7 years, my boys were toddlers. I was saying goodnight to my eldest, who was 4 years old. He looked at me and said, your face has changed, Mummy. I thought, what's he talking about? Then I ran and looked in the mirror, and my face was Chinese looking, with one of those long, thin moustaches. My eyes were slanty, then my face went back to normal. Was very scary at the time, but I feel it could have been my spirit guide protecting us from what was going on in the house. Yep, I would agree totally with that. And it's a short answer, but what do you think, Audrey?
Okay, so we call this shape shifting, right? So I kind of feel that it was either, if it's not your guide, it's some sort of something for your son to recognize from a past life. It feels very past for me. So maybe that at some point in your journey, your soul has had that physical body or that physical look that your son would have recognized.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. You've got two different perspectives there of what is, but hopefully that's settled down. I presume you may not be living there now, but hopefully that's settled down for you. But hopefully that will answer you. But good question as well, Jill. So I think maybe we need to jump on and do a message for someone now. If you're all right about doing that for a second, Audrey, unless there's a question you can see that you want there at all to answer.
Where is that?
Have you seen one you want to answer?
Oh, let me see if there's anything else in here.
Okay, here's one quickly. Now, this is a good question. What about seeing us, and I know you're into numbers, aren't you?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
What about seeing a specific number many times a day? Could that be a message from my guide? Okay.
Yeah,
Now a lot of people see 11s, don't they, all the time, which is normally means you're on your right pathway. There are many different numbers and numbers and numbers. Now, sometimes we probably don't always notice them, or we don't see them. We tend to notice them when it's repeated all the time. But, numbers for me is normally my way of knowing that I'm on the right track or the right pathway, because that's what the energy is doing for me. The energy is showing me, the energy is telling me. So that's what I believe. But it's a good thing if you keep seeing the same number. And I don't know what number you keep seeing, Shannon. But 1111, as I say, normally means you're on your right pathway. But there's many, many different ones. But again, there's many different resources on the internet. So if you keep on seeing a certain number, because you haven't said what number you're getting, then Google it. Do you agree with that, Audrey? Or?
Absolutely. Kind of just like the animal totem medicine. There are lots of good resources on there that you can really read deeper meanings about it. Yeah. But for me, for instance, before we got started, I pulled myself a card from Colette Baron Reed's deck. This one is I think it's like her shamanic deck. And so I know that it's the card says magic, and it's about believing in all of your spiritual gifts, right? So it's that's what we're here to talk about today. Yeah. But the number of it means more to me than actually what Colette Baron Reed wrote in the book. So the 33 is a number. It's a sign for me that everything's going to be okay. You're going to have a good time. It's like a confirmation number for me. Another number that I get a lot is 44. 444 on the clock. I get 444.
Right.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what does 444 mean to you?
To me, it just means that everything is happening in divine order.
Yeah, it's good. You're on the right path. You're on the right track. But I think with numbers, it's and there's many people that do numerology, and I've had that done myself, where someone did numerology, and it's well, that's fantastic. I don't know if you've ever had that done for you yourself or not, or you had a go at doing it. But when someone does it for you and it sort of plans out, you can see where your life has been, where your life's going, and everything like that. It's quite fantastic. So numbers are very important, and obviously numbers are very much important as well within our spiritual work. So again, someone's put on there, Linda's put, I see 222 333 444. Okay, yeah, again, I don't know, and as I'm sure Audrey doesn't know what every single one means, but I would say that probably again means you're on the right track. But again, Google it, see what it comes up with, because there's many different meanings to numbers and things like that. And my wife's quite often saying that means this or that means that, and then sometimes I've got to be honest, I turn a deaf ear and stuff like that. So but good question there.
Somebody was asking which deck it is. It's Reed's Mystical Shaman Oracle deck.
Okay, you can probably get it on Amazon or something.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there you go then. So there's about cards there. But I mean, going back to cards, everyone uses different cards, didn't they? And I think it's more to do with the card calling you or the pack of cards calling to you. It's like that Harry Potter thing where the wand, if you've seen Harry Potter, calls to Harry, doesn't it? Or he's drawn to whatever wand it is. And I think cards very much is something that we're drawn to. And I tend to not read the book. I tend just to use them intuitively. I don't know what you do with them. But
I do the same.
Yeah, because I think, you know, you can read the book and it's very black and white that card means this, this, and this. But I think when you're working, you have to go with the intuition, because I think every person is different. So every card will maybe have a different meaning to that person.
Yes.
So it's always different, isn't it? For someone's put they look lovely cards. Yeah, well, you know, again, obviously, if you want to get some, then you can get some.
I use the card to like you know, I pull when I pull cards. I hardly ever open the books. I have decks of cards that I work with that I've never opened the book. So really, what I'm doing with it is I'm just pulling a card. I'll pull one for you, Darren. Ooh, the corn, right? So here we're moving into the harvest season, and I feel like this is about you harvesting your gifts and opening up even more and more to your gifts. So it's like you've had to plant some seeds and put some new things into action because of COVID, right? So you've had to shift gears and change some of what your work is like, and you're going to be reaping what you've planted, what you've sowed. You're going to be harvesting a beautiful harvest. I feel like your work is going to be brilliant in the fall. October feels important for you.
And I got a reading. I don't normally get a reading. Yeah, I got a reading. That's lovely.
Well, that's how I do it.
But no, you're right, and I'm not just saying you're right because we're doing. You are right because you don't know what I've been up to, but I'm definitely putting a few plans into place which I've been thinking about and doing. So thank you for that. So that's a bit of confirmation. Again, a lot of people are saying beautiful cards. They look lovely. Again, someone's asked what the cards are.
Says 10. I just noticed the number on the card is 10, and so remember, like I heard October was important, and then it's like it validates for you.
Okay. So. Someone's put on there again, what were the cards called again, please? So they want to know what the cards were called again.
This is Colette Baron Reed's Mystical Shaman Oracle card deck.
Okay, if you just hold it up for a second, people can write it down if they want to write it down on there. They do look like really, really nice. Is that one of the cards you've just used?
Yes. It's a beautiful deck. And so some decks, they will, you know, you can pull, like if you're using the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, I'm going to probably do a 10 or more card spread for you. But when you're pulling from this deck in particular, she wants you to just pull one card and really focus on that energy. So Darren shouldn't pull 2 more cards or 3 more cards because it just becomes too much. Like there's so much about this card that he should be working with the energy of this for at least a week to a month.
There you go. So, ladies and gents, I got a card reading, so I don't really care what happens the rest of the evening now because I've got a reading. So there you go. And obviously, you've got an idea of where Elaine's put on there. Hay House quite often do card sales and sell packs for half price. Yeah, okay. I don't know if they do them on there, but it's worth having a look on there. So I was drawn to someone earlier to just do a bit of a reading for. So I'm just going to go up and I'm going to try and find that person, but I don't know how far back it went, but I think it was. It was this lady here. Now she might be one of your friends. I'm not sure. Ginger Parrot, is it? Is that one of your friends? Okay.
She's my friend from Lilydale that I was telling you about. So.
Okay. Oh, bless. Okay. Well, I don't know anything about her, but I was just drawn to her name. It's probably the Ginger connection that I got on there, sort of thing. But obviously, I don't know this lady or whatever and everything. But the thing I just got just from the name before I pulled the card was I know that she's a really nice person because I know that I feel it. I know she's very much a caring and loving person. But I think she tends to put other people, she tends to always seem to be helping other people but not getting the help for herself, if that makes some sense, if you know what I mean by that. So I think that she very much needs to help herself sometimes and stop putting herself forward. Now, the card that I picked is the Moon. And I'll read it. The opportunity to improve your plans, listen to your intuition for accurate guidance, face your fears, and grow stronger. Now, it's a beautiful card. Sorry, I'm rubbish at doing these here. It's called the Moon. There's a lovely lady in there with obviously you've got the dog as well. You've got the trees in the background. You've got the wings for protection. You've got the moon in the background. Now, what this card tells me about Ginger, and she can tell me if I'm right or I'm wrong on here, I don't mind. It tells me here that 1 is she's very, very spiritual, obviously. 2, it also tells me here she must very much be someone who likes to the earth side of the energy, should we put it that way, because I know as I'm working with this card here, I'm very much drawn to the trees, I'm drawn to the nature. So I know she's very much a nature lover. She has to also, if I'm right in what I'm working with here, be very much someone that is also teaching other people as well. And I'm also feeling very much here, when I go back to what I said about her giving her time to everyone, I think she just needs to take a little bit more time for her. But like what you said to me about sowing seeds, I'm also getting that from this card here for her about improving her plans. So she must be putting lots more plans in place to go forward herself. But I also want to say on here that I think that she's very in tune with herself, but she's very in tune with the spirit. I don't know whether, I don't know if that's right or wrong. Ginger, you can say yes or no, or Darren, you're rubbish.
Yes.
Audrey saying yes, so I'm taking it as a yes. But and the purple obviously is the spiritual color for me, as it probably is most people. But the moon, I will say here, we all know about the moon goes through different phases and cycles and everything. And I do feel that the moon is something, or the moon cycles or phases, I feel very much where there is something that she likes or affects her, but not in a negative way. I feel in a positive way. So she must very much be aware of the moon cycles and things like that. So Ginger, just let me know if I'm right, rubbish, or whatever I was. I'm fine, my lovely, either way. But so that's fine. But yeah, I was only drawn to her because I just picked up that she must be a really nice energy as well on there. So what else? Ginger said yes. Thank you, Ginger, for saying yes. I appreciate that, my lovely. Oh, okay. Marion's got a good question here.
She does have a
question. Do you want to read it, or do you want me to read it?
Go ahead.
Okay. What are your thoughts on being true to yourself? Hold on a second. The easiest way of doing this is... There you go. What are your thoughts on being true to yourself when situations feel abusive, or people just don't like your feeling or take your feelings into consideration? Are we wrong to draw a line and move on, even if it's family? What do you or the cards say? Now, I'll go first, and then Audrey might do it a different way, because I'm tingling from head to toe here, so I know my guides have really walked in here to say, Darren, one is to be careful what you say, but two, to give me the inspiration to you. Marion, my honest opinion is, where a family is concerned, it's really, really difficult. It's really hard. And obviously, I suppose it depends if it's a really close member or a distant member. But ultimately, we're here to learn our lessons and to live our journey or our life. And what I feel is we have to always be aware of people's feelings or situations, but we shouldn't necessarily take them on board. And the only reason being is because you know you far better than everyone else. And sometimes I think that people tend to have an opinion of us, or people tend to not be nice to us because they are the ones with the issue, not us. But we as spiritual people, or we as empaths, if you like, tend to take on other people's feelings or thoughts too much. And I would say to you, my lovely, is I don't know the full situation, but all the feeling I'm getting with Marion is that I think that, you know, we have to look at ourselves sometimes and take self-preservation. And I don't think there's anything wrong with distancing yourself from a situation that is not right for you. Not because you're distancing yourself because you're not a nice person, just because it's not right for you. So that's my opinion. I don't know what Audrey thinks, or if she's pulled a card or what she's done, but Audrey, what do you think about that wonderful question?
All right. So thank you. I absolutely 100% was tingling all over as well. I was like reading your comments before, Darren, you were even done, because I just was like, oh, I have got to like comment on this comment. So for you, I feel like boundaries. It's like about boundaries and healthy boundaries, right? So I keep hearing boundaries and getting creative with your boundaries. New creative boundaries are important, and looking at your boundary. And not everyone's going to love your boundary because they're used to having their way and dictating how you live your life. So it feels as though you're a bit of a people pleaser, Marion, and that can be quite lovely, except it's run its course for you, and you need to please yourself and protect yourself. So having that strong boundary is saying that you have love for yourself, but it's also boundaries equal love for the other people in your life, especially your family members. You're going to need to adjust these boundaries right now and then later. So yes, I feel it's important for you to create these boundaries. It's like, this is part of your lesson. It's like a boundary lesson, right? It's like you're putting in more than energetically than you should. It's also, I'm hearing that you've you've been down this road. It's like you keep putting yourself out there, and it keeps coming back at you and reminding you. It's like you keep getting stung by the scorpion tail. Is what I'm like seeing, like a scorpion tail like hitting you. It's like it gets you every time. So watching out for big egos, sticking up for yourself, and finding new creative ways to maintain relationships with this boundary. And if nobody's able to honor that boundary, then it is them that is not able to have a relationship with you. It's not your choice. You're just saying, this is what I have.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously agree totally with what Audrey says there as well. I think I've met you once before, Marion. I think when I did a dem with Chris once, I think it was a couple of years back, and I don't think you got a message, or I certainly didn't give you a message, but I know and it's a bit of a weird feeling when I say this out, but sometimes you just notice people, and you're one of the people that sort of sticks in my mind. So obviously, for some reason, but yeah, you know, it is hard sometimes though for us to pull away from family members, especially if it's your mum, your dad, or a brother, sister, or even a sibling maybe, or a child or something. But I think the thing is, as you develop, as you become more spiritually aware, you realize that the time you're on this earth for is about the lessons to learn. It's not about suffering. You know, sometimes we believe that if we stay in a situation which is negative, we keep learning and learning and learning. Well, you know, at the end of the day, it's your choice, free will choices we will have whether you stay in that situation like that. But what's the point in staying in a situation that causes you nothing but pain, causes you nothing but upset or hurt? Because I'm sure, Marion, you wouldn't wish whoever or a friend maybe who may be in the situation that you're asking about to stay in that situation. So if this applies to you, or maybe someone close to you, then maybe, you know, they need to change that and think, you know, I'm worth more than what's going on, and to actually maybe make that pull away or that stand. But a great question there, and I think she said she's been to my workshops. Okay, sorry, Marion. Thank you. You have confirmed what I feel. Absolutely. She confirms what we say. So that's nice, isn't it? So we've managed to give you some sort of help with that. Actually, and we'll just pull you a card as well.
I pulled you a card, and it says the Beauty Way on it, but I feel super drawn to the fact that there's a flower inside of it, right? And it's not just a flower, it's an open flower. It's like you're opening to something right now. You're allowing yourself to be more open, and with that comes like more voice and being more vocal about what it is that you need in a relationship.
Fabulous, brilliant. So I'm glad that helps you out, Marion. And sorry I didn't remember you from my workshops. Again, I've got a brain like I said, but I do apologise totally on there. But Ginger's been back and said she was born on the full moon as well. Ah, that's fabulous. Okay, because I know I mentioned about that as well. So a fabulous bit of a message there for you, Marion, if I do say so myself. Again, a lot of people are asking about your cards. And Ginger said a number 10 is a master number of new beginnings as well. So that's lovely. What other questions have we got on here? Okay, this sort of, I suppose, goes back to about family members. We've got a message here from Emma Painter, who says, what is your opinion on receiving a message from a person who caused the family a lot of trouble? He or maybe she is looking for forgiveness. Will it stop my progression on my spiritual pathway? No, it won't stop your progression, in my opinion, on your pathway. Now, obviously, I know Emma, so I've got my opinions on what she should or shouldn't do with her spiritual pathway, or what she's doing or not doing, sort of thing. So, when someone from the spirit world comes through, what you have to remember is that they want to come through and maybe bring some closure, but ultimately, you know how that person has made you feel, or what experiences you've had with that person. And if you don't want to accept that, then there's nothing a medium can do or the spirit person can really do. It's entirely you to either accept it and get that forgiveness that might help you personally yourself, as well as the person in the spirit world maybe to move on. But ultimately, it's down to you. And if you don't want to accept it, it doesn't mean you're not going to progress. It doesn't mean you're not going to have a happy life. It doesn't mean all those sort of things. It's just the fact of, you have that free will choice to accept or not accept. And you may find a year down the road or 2 years down the road, when you're in maybe progressed a little bit more yourself, that you might be open to wanting to accept whatever that, or give that forgiveness. But again, what do you think? I mean, again, you might have a different perspective. I don't know.
I love everything that you just said. I feel that it's also about forgiving yourself too, forgiving yourself for maybe wanting to forgive him and or maybe not wanting to forgive him, because that feels like it sways, like that's like a pendulum swinging. So it's I think that I would like to suggest maybe trying forgiveness on a soul level and not on as a man. So rather than being forgiving of the man, because it doesn't sound like that's where you are right now, like forgiving the soul, right? Like on a soul level, like you don't have to understand it right now, right?
Yeah.
But you can choose your boundary and have perfect peace and comfort with where you are and what feels right for you right now.
I mean, I've told this story before, but when I was first starting out, I was doing a dem. It's probably my second or third dem, and nervous, and all those sort of things go with it. And I remember my tutor at the time saying to me, "You learn your best lessons when you're out there doing the work on platform." And similar to the question that Emma asked there, I was connected with spirit, and it was this lady's ex-husband, and I think I've told this story before actually. And he was on about that she had burnt his books. She had done all these things to get rid of all of his information or all of his stuff, and he wasn't happy about it. And she actually swore and said he can go and do one. She just did not want to forgive him for what he had done on the earth plane. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's down to us if we forgive someone or not. And maybe it's a good idea, like you said, on a soul level to forgive someone, because maybe that's the way we need to look at it rather than the person, maybe the soul of the person or whatever, to do that way. So, Emma, you know, maybe that's the way you can do it, as Audrey said.
I found something that might be interesting to think about while we're kind of talking about like forgiveness, because when I do the regression work, the past life regression work, I will often find that you may find somebody that's just one of the hardest players in your life in this lifetime may have been somebody that you have rolled with in the past. And I'm not saying that you've done something so terrible. I don't know that, honestly, but I'll give you an example. So I did a regression for someone recently who one of the hardest characters in her life is her cousin. And it is really hard for her to love her. She's a really challenging person. And then when we did this work, she saw her a few hundred years ago as a young girl, and she encouraged her to be a sex worker, and she was part of a prostitution circle, and so she like manipulated the younger girls, and this cousin was one of them. So we're having these experiences. We are contracted when we come into this lifetime to help each other in certain ways, and it's really hard when you have somebody that's abusive and narcissistic, and even worse, to try and understand why you would help them achieve that lifetime or achieve that work in this lifetime. But for some reason, you've chosen this body and this life and this experience because there's something for you to learn. And sometimes you're to help them learn something. So knowing that your soul may be more evolved than that soul, and praying for that soul to evolve into a better place in the next lifetime. Maybe that would be helpful.
Maybe, I don't know. That's a good response there, and it's a good thing to actually think about as well, isn't it? Sort of thing, because you know life is very difficult, isn't it? And there are people we don't want to forgive or let go or whatever you want to call it. So, good answer there, Audrey. Well done, brilliant. I didn't even look at this. I just pressed it. I was drawn to press the button to get this to come up, and I haven't got a clue why. But it says 2 years ago we were about to leave the house, and my daughter's guitar played in her bedroom. It shocked us both, and I felt very uneasy in the house for a while, and I spoke to Spirit to say, this is my home, and I'm in charge, so no more scaring us. A week later, my friend, who is clairvoyant, said she felt it was my late son who passed at 7 years old, oh bless you, and he was trying to get my attention. He never lived in this house, so it came as a surprise, but it was around. I think that says around. So do you want to run with that one, Audrey, or...?
I'm feeling that it definitely was your son. Immediately when you started talking about, when you started reading this, I felt a male presence immediately. It feels very youthful. It feels like it's coming from a good place. It doesn't feel like anything dark or negative whatsoever. It's just simply your child trying to get your attention. And how do children get our attention? They play with toys, or they play with instruments, and he's playing with sound. It's beautiful. I love it for you.
And it's about, I mean, spirit, spirit can give us little signs. And I know someone mentioned about Robin or something on one of the messages. But, signs are very much a spiritual thing as well, aren't they? And they can be birds. They can be getting our attention, as in, obviously, your son with this. But so, always look out for the signs. But that one, as Audrey's quite rightly said, is a very special one. So always treasure that. And you did talk to him, talk to the spirit world, and I'm sure that at some stage he will come and do exactly the same or whatever. So just to always remember that wonderful experience that you've had. So.
It says then too, he never lived in this house, so it came as a surprise. Okay. And I thought that was an interesting statement too, because that doesn't matter. The idea of time and space is a very human concept, but when we are in spirit, time and space, they don't exist.
And quite often, actually, that's actually quite often people say to me, my husband's passed over or my wife's passed over. I want to move house, but if I move house, will they find me, or will they come with me? And the answer is yes, they will at the end of the day, because they will always go with you wherever you are because of that love connection, that energy connection as well. So whichever house you go to, Sherry, then I'm sure your son will always find you and come and give you these little signs. Bless his heart. So well done, good. Where are we? Got any more questions on here we want to answer? I'll go all the way down. Emma said, thank you both. That is interesting. I have given this a thought, and what you have said resonates with me. Okay, so whatever we've said resonates with Emma, but she's a lovely person. I always say that every time she comes on, but she's a lovely, lovely person. But there was actually something on here I was going to actually... I know you said to me about, you had cards when you were 12 years old. Yeah. But when you had the cards, when was your first inclination of a spirit person or a spirit guide around you? Did you know at 12, or was it later in life when you sort of got a bit more awareness, or what do you think it was?
So it was definitely later when I was doing a little more seeking, and I found a community of people. There's a good bit of people in this area where I live that are light workers and are interested in what I believe in. So I found a community of people that I could really talk about these things to and not be like too weird. And so once I started doing that and meditating, so it was through meditation that I really started to have experiences. So my first like over the top, like wow experience was on my acupuncturist table. So I was laying there and I had all these needles in my body, and I was there because my foot hurt and I wasn't sleeping well. I was there because doctors, Western medicine wasn't working. It was like a last resort. And so I was laying on the table and my eyes were open, and I was having all of these like crazy visuals that I couldn't even believe I was seeing. And I knew that if you walked in the room that you would not see them, but I could see them. And just somehow I knew it was coming from inside myself. It was coming from inside my own body. And I've never had quite that kind of visual. It seems like a lot of like when like something big happens, it happens, it's the first thing, right? So they're like, hey, we're trying to get your attention. So that was probably my biggest one. And then I was like, I want more. I want to know what this is about. And that's when I started really seeking.
But do you find, obviously on a personal level, I know that spirit are with us all the time. They help us and they guide us. But the one thing that I found is as I started to develop, or I started to become aware, and again, this is something that I think a lot of people say at times, is that your outlook on life changes. Maybe the situation, relationships, or family situations, whatever you want to call it, all seem to change because you seem to have a different awareness to what you did before. And that doesn't mean the people that are in your life at that time are not good people, but maybe their pathway is different. Did you find that when you started to open up, that maybe people like friends who you had for a long, long time, let's say in your life or something, you were finding that the energy was just different, the balance was different, and you were finding that maybe you didn't not have the same interest, but their pathway was different. So you were just generally or naturally pulling apart because you were becoming more aware to the world or energy or spirit, that sort of thing. Did you find any of that yourself?
Definitely. Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But people tend to think that when that happens, that you're being nasty about people. You're not being nasty about people, but I think that everyone comes to a point in their life where I think they awaken to spirit, or they awaken to a bit more knowledge or understanding, I think. And I think that that's just when maybe you cut some of the cords or the ties from the past, and then you start to go on your new journey. And because you can't take everyone with you from your past. Some people you do, but you can't take everyone with you from your past, I sometimes feel, on your new journey, because you're just evolving at different levels, aren't you?
I love that you can't take everyone along with you on your journey. That's a really nice way to put it. But yeah, it's like you'll notice that the more you start to awaken to your own gifts and your vibration raises higher, that some people just fall away. And sometimes they marry your family. And that's unfortunate. But and that's not all of the time. I don't want to not encourage you to open up to your gifts. You should, but you'll start to see that certain conversations that you're having that may have been really fun and interesting to you 10 years ago don't interest you anymore. So I found that it was really difficult to drink a lot of booze and sit around with a bunch of people and gossip, that kind of thing that may have been what I participated in my late 20s. As I got a little older, I just didn't really feel like that. It didn't interest me anymore. I'd rather stay home. I'd rather read a book. I'd rather take a work. I wanted to live a more authentic life. And so those friendships, they start to dissipate.
Which is a shame to a degree, but again, it's all because we evolved differently, didn't we? And maybe our life purpose or our level is different to theirs, not because we're any better than them. It's just things naturally have to evolve and things naturally change, don't they?
That's right. And it opens up space for more people that are like-minded or are supposed to show up in this part of your life. It opens up space for those kinds of friendships. And it also opens up an opportunity for those people that are falling away to have the experiences that they're supposed to have as well. I just always try to trust. It doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt when suddenly somebody falls away. Most of the time, it's you recognizing, because you're the one that's spiritually awake. You're the one that's changed, not them, right? So you recognize that maybe you don't feel as great when you hang out with so-and-so because they're really, they've got a negative outlook on life. But then there are also, we have to give credit to those other friends too that are super curious about what is changed. They're like, what's different about you? Something is different about you. And they want to, understand and have their own awakening as well.
Yeah. It's funny how it just changes when you awaken, things change. But because also talking about things changing, food as well. I don't know about any of the guys on here or not, if any, but food changes as well. What you used to like, you don't like, and what you didn't like, you do. And when one of my guides came in, I used to really love garlic. I used to love garlic. I'd have garlic pretty much for pizzas, in dinners, everything, pretty much like garlic. And I went for a period, I think probably of 5 years, where I couldn't eat it. I couldn't eat garlic anymore because I had a guide that was giving me the feeling, I don't like garlic. And because he didn't like garlic, it was sort of transferred onto me. And it might sound a bit weird, but I was very conscious of the fact, well, I better not eat garlic because I know my guide doesn't like garlic. So sometimes, food can change. But now I eat garlic all the time, which is a good thing. So have you found that that's changed for you? Because I know it sounds funny we're talking about food, but I think, when you awaken, not only does your perspective of the world and other people change, but I think diet, health also changes. And everything that goes with it as well. I mean, do you think that changes as well, your food and health?
Yes. Yeah. I don't eat anything like I did 15 years ago. I didn't have any limitations at all 15 years ago. And, drinking, that was a thing, right? So it's not that I don't drink now, but I'm very conscious about how much or when I drink. So if I'm going to, drink half a bottle of wine with a friend, I'm going to do that on a time when I don't need to worry about raising my vibration, because it's raising my vibration that helps us to connect. So I don't need to worry about that tomorrow. Okay, tonight's a good night to have a glass of wine, but tomorrow I'm working, I'm going to just probably stick with water and keep my system really clean. My body doesn't tolerate dairy, eggs, gluten, but the dairy and the eggs are the big one, and then some other things as well. And I noticed that like I do eat meat, but I tend to stick to mostly fish. And again, if I have like a lot of readings tomorrow, I'm probably gonna just keep it kind of clean and veggies the night before.
Yeah, but that all comes back to the preparation, doesn't it, as well, I suppose, before you're going to work. Because people think that you just sort of like, if someone's got a reading at 10:30 or whatever, that you just, that's it, you don't worry about it, you just do it there and then. But I find for me personally that if I'm doing some readings, I'm thinking about it the day before or maybe the day before that. And I'm starting to think, well, I better not do this because this might affect it or change the energy, the vibrations you say. Or if I do this, it'll make the vibration better. I suppose it's a mindset type thing as well. But I think the more aware we come, things do change, don't they? But it's funny how that happens. But, it's just the way it goes. And I'm sure that other people who've, of developing are finding that as well. And someone did put on here that, and I can't see where it is. Denise put, I think when you're spiritual, you're drawn to like-minded people, which, I think because you obviously get a different perspective, a different way, don't you? Val said she's learning so much in this chat. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Val. It's our pleasure. I'm sure that that would be backed up. Oh, okay. I'm going to read. I've got to read this because it's about me, this one. Okay, I've got to read this one. It's from Janet. Said, I had a lovely message off you, Darren. In fact, more than once, but I still get the tapes out, as in obviously the tapes, very often, so I can, so she can listen to it again and see how things have changed. Well, that's nice, isn't it? When people come back and give you a nice validation, so that's good. Yeah. It's always nice when. Who else have we got? Really enjoying the session, so thank you both so very much. Marion says, I love my spiritual family. Those that get me a soul level deeper and so meaningful. And again, things do change as we progress and go forward, and it'll probably keep changing and changing until the day we're in the spirit world. But another question I've got on here, and I've answered this before, Audrey, but I just thought I'd see what you think about it. Is when we pass over to the spirit world, do you think we stop learning, we continue learning, or what do you think?
Okay, when we cross over, I believe that we are in a place of like all knowing and pure love and a collective energy. And then I believe that as a soul, we come back here to experience certain human experiences to help our soul evolve. So I guess I would have to say that we're still learning.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you on that because I've said this before. But someone asked me what the love is like that you would feel when you go to the spirit world. But I think that's something we can't really answer totally, because until you get there, you're not going to experience it or feel it, are you? But wherever we go and however it is, and I think it's different for everyone how they perceive the spirit world to be. It's certainly going to be a place I think that is going to be of love and understanding, and somewhere I think it's going to be nice to be in. So I think you answered that question really, really well there. So any more questions on here to answer this evening? Do you want to do any more readings, or are you okay to carry on?
Here from Audrey, and she says, I've often wondered if certain smells come from something or someone in a spiritual way. Many times I notice a passing smell of people or a person in my life who are gone now. Yes, I do. There's a lot of clairs, like clairaudient, you're hearing, clairvoyant, you're seeing. So absolutely you can smell as well. I smell, I taste, like I might taste pizza in my mouth, and then that's a clue for me to help, get you the information. Same thing with smell. If they're a smoker, I'll smell that scent of cigarettes or flowers or something. And I'll be like, if there's something about rose, I'm smelling rose, and does she love roses? Or that might be helpful in the message. So yes, I believe that you are intuiting through your sense of smell. Do you also use smell as well?
100%. It's something we use within our mediumship, but it's something as well, I think, when our own family or our loved ones want to get our attention, if you're in the house, you're out driving, whatever it is, that sometimes you would just get the smell of maybe some cigarettes, as you say, or a perfume or a cologne, or something like that. Yeah, so I agree with you totally on that. And I think, again, it's another sign from the spirit world that they're very much there supporting and helping us, isn't it? So totally agree with that. So enjoy whatever the smells and sensations are that you're getting, Audrey, for your loved ones to be around you. So hopefully that helps you. I'm glad that people are enjoying tonight, because normally it's just me talking, rabbiting on, and people say they enjoy it. But it's nice when someone else comes along to actually have some sort of input. And as we go forward, I'm sure other people will be joining us.
I see another one on there that's interesting.
Okay, go on.
It says, my daughter said when she was 2 years old, she could remember her last mom and her died in a car accident. And she didn't know how to handle that. So can I comment on that?
Yeah, you go with it, yeah.
So obviously I'm a big believer in reincarnation. And when I was little, I remembered my mom when she was little. And I would tell my mom that I remembered her when she was little. And she would just say, that's impossible. You weren't born yet. And I would say things to her too, like, when I'm big and you're little, I'm going to put you in timeout. Like, I'm going to be mean to you. Because she was going to tell me what to do.
Your own back.
my own mom. Like, I really believed that I would be the mom and that she would be the daughter at some point, because I do believe that I don't believe that I was my mom's mom in this life, because I know my grandmother. In fact, she is one of my guides. Babe, she was probably my first guide. I had a relationship with her before my master guide even. But at some point, I believe that my mom was my child. So hopefully that's sort of helpful. And that may have even been your situation with your daughter as well. So it could be something to like sit with and meditate on, and maybe you can get more answers on that.
Yeah, definitely. Meditation, Maxine. I'm always talking about meditation. The reason I didn't answer that question is I know Maxine. So Maxine, meditate. You know, I'm always all about meditating, my lovely. So maybe you want to do that. But good answer, Audrey, as well. I didn't know you had the experience yourself when you were younger. So that's something I didn't know. So I've learned something there myself this evening, as well as getting a reading. Someone's put on here, evening both. Hi, Yvonne, hope you're well. She's another medium. I know Yvonne. Denise says, yes, always enjoy these evenings. That's good. I'm pleased about that. It's lovely. Obviously, Audrey agreed to come along. Your friend Ginger's come back on saying, this was awesome. Thank you for the message, Jan. It was spot on. Love to you, Audrey Rai, psychic medium. Would love to, I think, you both again. See you both again. You're welcome, my lovely. Thomas has put, and I'll just put Thomas's message up here. When you give a reading and you feel physically or emotional feelings, which tends to come through stronger, and which one is easier to interpret? Do you want me to run with that, or do you want to run with that one?
I'll go. That's all right.
Go on then. Yeah.
For me, it changes. So sometimes I'm reading for someone, and it's more feeling, and then other times it's more physical. So it might be more feeling, and sometimes it's more physical. It changes, and I can do readings back to back, and it can be very different. Does that answer the question?
I think so. I mean, it's exactly the same for me. I mean, no two readings are ever the same, sort of thing. You know, sometimes you'll be more emotional with one than the other, but yeah, it changes and changes totally. And I think you've done a good explanation of it there. I mean, when I normally start, I mean, for me, again, it changes, but I normally work with the emotion first, and then it goes that way for me. But as you say, it can change on every single way that you work. So hopefully, Thomas, that might help you with your answer. But a good question there as well. So thank you for that. I just need a drink for a second.
Sometimes too, I don't know about you, Darren, and maybe I'm just saying the same thing twice. But for me, sometimes I'll do back-to-back readings, and it's all like clairaudience, and then the next reading I do, it's all clairvoyance. And it's not that I'm not like able to tap into all those things at the same time, but it might be just like really heavy in one area and really heavy in the other area. Yeah,
you can know. I mean, that's why people say, well, it seems to change with every reading. Well, it does change with every reading, because every spirit communicator will be different. They will work with your senses maybe in a different way or something. So you can't always say you're going to work X, Y, and Z, because it might change. So, but no. So Thomas has said thank you, so that's good. Where are we? Let me have a look. I've got loads of questions to ask you, Audrey, but so let me ask you another question first. Okay, right, before we answer some more questions on here, because I want people to get to know who you are, what you're doing. I think they're getting a good idea of that. So when you do your workshops and your tuition, is that you do that online as well as, well, obviously face-to-face is a bit difficult now. So how do you find it online? Do you find it's easier online than face-to-face, or do you find it more difficult with the energy side of things? Because one of the questions I always get is, well, how does it work? Because you have to be having the person sitting in front of you, or when you're teaching, you have to have the person there in front of you to teach them. I've got my own views on it, but I just thought I'd see how you feel it works for you, and do you enjoy working that way?
It's a great question. So I would say probably the whole of last year, I just kept hearing that I needed to have an online platform. I needed to get it online. I bought all kinds of podcasting equipment. I bought all kinds of cameras and things like that. But yet I was still just doing all of my stuff pretty much one-on-one, and an occasional like phone reading for somebody across the country or whatever. And then COVID hit, and I was like, okay, I understand what all of this equipment is for. And so I had some things lined up, and where in the past I teach my intuition course once a month. We get together through the school year, like September through June, and I've done that the past few years. All of a sudden, it was really important that the information be spread as fast as possible. And so I was doing the class online for maybe 15 people at a time for over 4 weeks. So twice a week we'd get together. Boom. It's like, here's a big overload of information. And it transferred beautifully. And then even with Reiki, I had a Reiki class lined up, and they were like, let's still try it. And I was like, I don't know that this is going to transfer. And it was magnificent. So I don't feel that there's anything that I can't do virtually. Remember, time and space, like that's a really human thing. And the kind of work we're doing is with spirit, and spirit is going to show up and adjust the way it needs to be, and for your highest and best good, for our highest and best good.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you on that. And I know, a lot of people, and I don't know if it's more in the States where they're used to having online readings or whatever, or phone readings and stuff. But in the UK, people have been very skeptical about it, because we've always had the mindset where, well, how does it work? Because you have to be in front of someone for it to work, because you have to have that connection that way. And I think people are now, because of COVID, people have had to go down this route of online circles, online demonstrations, online private readings, phone readings, all those sort of ways of working with technology now. And I think people are now starting to grasp the concept. And this doesn't mean that people were not able to grasp it. I think it was maybe a lack of understanding from the medium point of view of giving them that knowledge, or the lack of knowledge given to the people. People are now understanding that it's all about the energy, about the connection, the vibration of it, and you don't physically need to be sitting in front of someone. And I find it really, really good, because you can reach more people working online, obviously, and people that may have a disability that can't travel to a centre to watch a medium like you or myself, or go to a church, or go to a medium's house maybe, or a centre to have a private reading. They're now able to get that connection, and they understand that it works, and they get that comfort. So spirit are sort of, if you want to look at the positive side of what's happened with COVID, and we know it's not positive for all the bad things that's happened, but from a positive side, from the spirit point of view, people are now able to access mediums or get that connection from their loved ones to give them that comfort in times like COVID or other times. And spirit are really clever, and they're highly intelligent, in my opinion, and I'm sure you'll agree with that. And the things that they can do to get through to people, and if you think about the world, again, with all the technology we have, all the interference with different phones, computers, they still are able to, if you like, to manage to use that energy to get through all that sort of distraction, for people to be able to connect. So I think, the online way is a way. I think we still have churches and that when it sort of eases off a bit, but I think that the online thing is going to always be a presence now, and I think people are going to be able to find the medium that they need to find, or go to, and work that way. So I'm glad that it worked out right for you, and obviously you were sort of preempted a bit of the way you need to work, and I'm glad that's working out for you now, because I think it's the way that we're going to go. But if you think about it, it's all about energy, isn't it? Whether it's Reiki, whether it's crystals, whether it's healing, whether it's mediumship, psychic work. So it's all about understanding that energy transference is what we can do. So good answer there, Audrey, and I'm glad that worked out really, really well for you. So we'll take a couple of more questions, and I think we're probably going to wind it up, I think. But I'm really enjoying the evening. Hopefully you are as well, Audrey.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Yvonne has been sitting in development group via Zoom. Strange at first, but enlightening as how spirit works. Enjoyable, but do prefer face-to-face. Yeah, I mean, it's a personal thing, but I think it personally, for me, it works both ways, but I think it's a personal thing to everyone. But, enjoy doing it both the ways that you're doing it, and hopefully at some stage, Yvonne, you can get that face-to-face. I suppose you could get that face-to-face if you're 2 meters away at the moment. I don't know. But it's probably not worth putting yourself in that situation at the moment. I wouldn't have thought. So there was something else I was going to ask you. We were talking about guides earlier. Now, my inspiration, and I've said this before to people, and I think I probably told you, my inspiration for this was my grandmother, which obviously you know. But who do you think is your, not necessarily a spiritual guide, it could be someone that's living, it could have been someone in your past or whatever. Who do you think your biggest inspire or inspiration was, maybe in your spiritual life more, let's say, than your personal life? Difficult question to pin it down to one. I've struggled with this as well.
Yes, I've had so many wonderful teachers, and I've even had teachers that may have I've had lots of teachers. I can't see that there's one in particular person that's really shifted the fact that I'm doing this work. But I will say that I'm inspired by you, and
thank you.
Because when we were together a few years ago, you were like, hey, you're not going to need those cards very much longer. And I was like, what are you talking about? So I wasn't even really ready for or prepared or aware that the mediumship portion was coming in for me. I knew that I was psychic and I had been already doing this work, but that portion of it, I would say, I'm going to say that you're the person on this planet right now.
Oh, bless your heart. Right, I'm going to have to pay you some money after this, for all this nice stuff you're saying about me or doing about me. But no, the reason I asked that question is because I sort of struggled with the same sort of answer. I mean, if I'm going to say who's my inspiration on the earth, without a doubt, that's my wife. Totally my wife, without a doubt. She's totally my inspiration. But then from a spirit point of view, it would have to say my grandmother, because the reason I say she's my inspiration is because she sort of opened the door for me, got me into this, albeit she's dragged, and I was sort of dragged to it, if you like, or screaming about it. But so I think for her, she's my inspiration from the spirit point of view, because I know that if ever I am struggling personally or I'm struggling spiritually within a message or a workshop or reading, she's the one that comes and gives me a kick up the backside and says, sort yourself out, and bang. So I think she's probably my greatest inspiration, because, as you know, she was very much the witch of the family, and freaked everyone out. So good. Thank you for that. But good answer. I mean, there's lots of people we have, don't there? That's our inspiration about that. But good. Well done. Emma said she's. Thank you both for hearing your different perspectives. Nicola has put, do recently past loved ones come to you in your dreams? Okay, good question. I've answered this one before in the past. Do recently past loved ones come to you in your dreams? I recently had a dream about a past loved one, and it felt so real. Thank you. Audrey, do you want to answer that?
Sure. So do not dismiss it as just a dream. It's actually a visitation. When you're sleeping, your channel is completely open. So you're open to receiving messages from all kinds of loved ones. But yes, absolutely. And the more real they feel, the more validation that should be for you, that this is not your imagination. This is actually a visitation. What a gift. It's lovely.
Yeah. Fabulous. There you go, Nicola. And I would back up everything that's just been said there. There's another question here that I'm just going to put up from Matthew. And you can, I mean, you may have already sort of answered this anyway, Audrey, but where did you start your road in spirit? As I haven't, where would I start? Okay, do you want to answer that?
Sure. Okay, so I do, and I think Darren does as well, a lot of intuition development. So I truly believe that we are all intuitive beings. We all have, it's our birthright. We all have intuitive gifts. We're all receiving messages all the time. Here's the tricky piece, is that the messages that you're receiving are all coming in the same voice, in one voice, yours. And so it's learning to discern what is in your voice and what is actually a message, and learning to pay attention to your thoughts. For me, meditation was a space I could get into to really start to understand that and hear that that's not my thought. That's actually a message, and starting to feel connection to something bigger than myself. And so having somebody to like maybe give you a good foundation to help you open up and discover what your gifts are, where your gifts are best suited for you, would be my advice for you for that.
Fabulous. Yeah. For me, it was going to development groups, circles, workshops, residential things to learn what the gift that I had. Gift, I don't like using the word gift, but the ability that I had, how to work with it and that. And you'll know whether or not you, and by your question, I would say you probably have an awareness of the spirit or awareness of your intuition. So what I would say to you is find out, an online group, maybe a course, or do meditation, read some books, whatever feels right to you, because whatever you go or whatever you do always has to feel right to you. If you go somewhere that doesn't feel right, you're not going to progress. You're not going to learn, you're not going to develop. So good question. And hopefully that answers your question too. And good luck with your development, whatever you do with it.
And finding a teacher too. I think finding one that encourages you to find what your gifts are and not to put you in a box. I think there are sometimes some big egos like to put you in a box and say, there's only one way to do it. There's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of roads to New York City, as I say. So you have to find your own path. And when you go to learn with other people, just observe how they learn and try it and see how that works for you.
Yeah, I think when, I've been in situations where I've been in groups or circles that have not felt right for me, but because obviously you do a lot of tuition and I do a lot of tuition as well. And what I find is I always look at people as individual people. And one of the questions I always get is, well, why can't I be like such and such a medium? Or I want to be like such a medium, or I want to work like this medium or that medium. And I know in the States you got, on the only sort of famous, if you like, medium I know in the States is John Edwards, for instance. And I don't know whether you like him or don't, or people out there do or they don't. But in the UK, we got various different ones. There used to be Colin Fry, bless his heart. You got Tony Stockwell. You got all these other mediums, Sally Morgan, and all these different people. And they all say, well, I want to work like X, Y, or Z medium. And my answer is, you need to work how you can work. You shouldn't be wanting to emulate someone else, because ultimately you might not be able to work that way because they work differently to you, because they have a different skill set maybe, or they're weaker in certain areas where you're stronger in certain areas. So I think it goes back to the point where you said about a tutor bringing out the best in you and not treating you just say as a, everyone fits the same sort of mold, because they don't do that, as you're quite rightly saying. I think it's nice when you get someone come along and you start to see the little light go on in their mind and their brain, and they achieve their first step. And it's like, wow, that little light opens up. And for me, that's what I find fascinating when I'm working with students, is seeing that little light. And if they only stay with me for a short term and they move on to someone else, because I do believe people will always move on to someone else at some stage, at least you've had a little bit of help in their awareness sort of thing. So a good question. My mum's been back on. Mum was very spooky. Born on Halloween. She always said you had a great future. I don't know if my mum's referring to me or you, Audrey, but we've both got a great future, so thanks, Mum. But I'm not giving you a message. Audrey's not giving you a message either, so you have to pay for it if you want one.
I'll tell your mom, though, that when I would go to visit her mom, because Darren's grandmother is my aunt. So his mother is my cousin. So that's how that works. So I would say, please read my palm, please. And she would say, ooh, I don't read for family. And I'd be like, every time. So he would never read for me and tease me that way. But I would say that she's super inspirational to me too. So yeah, that was my first example of someone with the gift.
Being spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. Right, a couple of more questions then. I think we will have to be on our way because it's getting close to 9 o'clock here, and I don't know what it is in the States. Is it 4 o'clock? Coming up to 4 o'clock?
4. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you might have busy things to do. I don't know. Lisa said, "I dreamt my." Let's just put it up on the screen. It's easier that way. I dreamt my dad hugged me today. It felt so real, so blessed he visited me today. Again, it goes back to that previous question, doesn't it, about the visitation that you mentioned about. And obviously, Lisa, I know you're mediumistic anyway, so you will probably know the reason why he came to see you or gave you that hug as well. So fabulous experience. So enjoy that experience. It's wonderful, isn't it? And it is nice. And when we are quite down, and I'm not saying that's why he came for you, Lisa. This is just me talking in generally. But when we get low or we get down, that's when spirits seem to, or our loved ones seem to come around us the most, I find, to pick us up, to give us that little bit of comfort, to give us that recognition that, things are not great, but they're going to get better, or we're supporting you as we did when we were here on the earth. And I find that very comforting, as I'm sure that you do, and other people should. So whenever they do that, always be grateful, not grateful, but be pleased that they've come around to help you. Another question from Marion. I'm not looking at the questions, I'm just putting them up. Do you agree meditation is more for yourself and sitting in the power of spirit being more for spiritual development, but that we do need now ourselves and how we feel to know what it is us and what is spirit? Okay. Meditation is something, Marion, that I always harp on about to my girls in the group, or the guys in the group. And I'm sure if any of them are on there tonight, they'll probably tell you that all I do is say, you haven't meditated, you haven't meditated, you haven't meditated. Yes, meditation I do find is really important for us for both reasons that you said there. One is we're in quite busy worlds, we've got busy lives, and meditation seems to be coming up more and more into the world at the moment to try to de-stress us. So I do feel that we need meditation for ourselves because we're important, aren't we, people? And I think sometimes we need to just be in our own space in that moment for us to be in touch with ourselves, maybe our higher self even as well, to actually, find that peace inside and within to help us to sometimes maybe work things out. But I also agree with what you said, sitting in the power of spirit. Yeah. There's different exercises you can do within a meditation that will help you have a stronger connection, bring the spiritual person in closer, all these different wonderful things here. But sitting in the power, I strongly believe that is also something we need to do for that spirit connection, because it's when spirit are able to come in to give us that power, for us to feel that power, to feel that wonderful, wonderful, beautiful connection, and actually to help us within that development. Do you agree with that, Audrey, or you've got a different
Yes.
you do a lot of meditation anyway, don't you?
I do. I mean, it's sisters with yoga. So I'm doing a lot of meditation when I'm teaching yoga. So I'm teaching meditation as well. So yeah, meditation does feel more about my personal stuff. I mean, not to say that I don't ever in my meditations have super spiritual experiences. Of course I do, but you're right. It's very different than sitting in the power.
Yeah. So good question, Marion, and I'm sure you do that, and I'm sure you knew the answer anyway, bless your heart. But keep up the good work with meditation if you're doing it. Thank you to both of you for another lovely evening. Wish it could go on for many more hours. Well, I think we'd probably both be exhausted, bless your heart. So I think what we'll do then is Melba, hi Melba, hope you're well. She's someone I know. So I think what we'll do then, Audrey, is we're finished the evening there because it's coming up to 9 for me and it's coming up to 4 for you. Yeah. And we've been going on for quite some time, considering we were only going to do about an hour. But hopefully you've enjoyed it. I'm sure people here have enjoyed having you on board, and maybe in the future we can do something again, another evening like this or something like that. But give yourself a bit of a plug if you like, because there might be people here that want to connect with you via your Facebook, website, or whatever it is, to maybe touch base with you for some development or something else that you can help them with. So if you want to do a bit of a plug.
Thank you so much, Darren. Thank you, everyone, for showing up, and thanks for having me here. So my website is audreyrai.com. It's AudreyRai. And you can find me under that same name, Audrey Rai Psychic Medium, on Facebook. So connect with me either of those ways. I have lots of workshops coming up for the fall. There's some Reiki stuff coming up. And again, like I was saying before, it's something that I am feeling guided to teach remotely. So if that's something you're interested in learning, I have that. Some intuition building workshops workshops coming up. They'll go over probably a course of 8 weeks, and we do readings and all kinds of healing work and past life regressions, which seem to be something of interest, not just tonight, but in general in this world.
A couple of people said about their past life, so they might get in touch. Yeah. It's been fabulous having you on board tonight, Audrey. Even more better because you gave me a reading, obviously, so that was nice, which was unexpected. We've done a few readings for people tonight. I know we didn't get through to everyone, but I think it's nice sometimes to get 2 different people's opinions who work with the spirit world, and obviously with what you do and you bring into the mix as well. So thank you very much for what you've done tonight. Thank you for joining me, and have a fabulous day, and I will catch up with you in the next day or so anyway. But thank you for your time, and thank you everyone for joining us. As always, stay safe and take care. Be kind to yourself, be kind to everyone else, and just know without a shadow of a doubt that spirit are there for you, especially in this strange time. And thank you from me and Audrey. And thank you, Audrey. You take care. Lovely to speak to you, and see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye everyone, take care. Oh, just quickly before you go, this will be on the Facebook page, and I'll share it to Audrey's page as well, so that if anyone wants to replay it to get any answers to any questions again that you've missed, or find out a bit more about Audrey or anything like that, you can do it that way. Okay, so take care everyone, and see you soon. Bye. See you, Audrey. Take care. Bye. Bye.